From the Corner Office is brought to you by Synovus Bank, championing business growth through trusted, relationship-driven banking throughout the Gulf Coast region. Kevin Gillen champions that business growth in his role as the regional market leader for Synovus. The bank recently merged with Pinnacle Financial Partners, and Kevin has been spearheading that transition. The Business Observer writes and publishes stories online and in print that inform and inspire leaders like Kevin so that they could be better at their jobs. To read stories like those and more, subscribe to the Business Observer. Go to businessobserverfl.com. Hello and welcome to the Business Observer's From the Corner Office podcast. I'm Mark Gordon, managing editor of the Business Observer. Today's guest is Kevin Gillen, regional president of the Gulf Coast for Synovus Bank. Kevin, welcome and thanks for being here.
Great to be here, Mark. Looking forward to our conversation today.
Me as well, Kevin, and I should start out by saying you're the first ever repeat guest on From the Corner Office in June 2026. We're celebrating 3 years, so it's taken us that long to have a guest that good to come back on twice.
Wow. Well, one, congratulations. Two, it's an honor.
Excellent. Well, you've done some amazing work leading Synovus as it's grown in the region. And I want to, we're going to talk a little bit about the bank and your career. For just a quick sort of refresher for those who don't recall that issue, that episode that ran in July 2025, we talked about some pretty interesting things. Talked about Jack Welch. We talked about passion and a people-first mindset are crucial for leadership. And we talked about how not bringing their ego, a good leader does not bring their ego into decision-making. I guess, is that still true for you, Kevin, a year later?
Absolutely. People have got to be top priority, always.
Yeah. Excellent. All right, Kevin, we are going to get into some of that in a second. We're going to start with some rapid fire questions. We've evolved. These are different than last time. So you're not getting away with the same rapid fire questions, but here we go. What's one word that you think your team would use to describe you?
Advocate.
What's one word, maybe it's the same word, what's one word you hope your team would use to describe you?
Driven, and to see them succeed and have fun and have pride in what they're doing and to create the best place to work.
I know a lot of that is true. I know some of your people, and I know they would say that. That's excellent. Kevin, what leadership book have you read that you would recommend to other up-and-coming leaders?
Actually, there's two books that I've read. On my nightstand, I got a stack of books. But I would say No Excuses. It's the author is Brian Tracy, and he's got 3 segments in the book. One is personal success, the other one is career and business, and the last one is personal happiness. And he breaks it down. So on the personal success side, it's really taking responsibility, self-accountability, set clear goals for yourself, and overcome fear and procrastination. Easier said than done. On the career side, focus, this is also hard, right? Focus on high value tasks. Always have a thirst for continuous learning. Work ethic is extremely important. And on the happiness side would be health and energy, relationships, and peace of mind.
Yeah, that's all good advice and a lot of different things happening. I like the high value tasks. Tell us about what that means for you. You at the bank, you guys have a lot of things you can do, but you have to choose the things that you are doing. What does focus on high value tasks mean?
Yeah, so high value tasks, and it could mean different things to different people. So for a leader, it's got to be your people. It has to be your people. Somebody walks into your office, put the phone down, give them your undivided attention. Let them know that you are they are the most important priority to them. If you're a revenue producing or a service support person, it's all about the client. And it's hard, but I always say a great exercise, a mental exercise to do is kind of when you're going home at the end of the day, kind of look in the rearview mirror and, what were your top 5 things that you said you were going to accomplish during the day? Did you do them? and what's your top 5 that you're gonna do tomorrow, and what might you have to do to rearrange, your priorities, your schedule in order to make sure you're gonna stay on track and be accountable.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
There's one other good book I do
Yes.
wanna mention here, and I was fortunate enough to be in an audience to hear the author, and it's called Best Team Ever. It's written by Dr. David Burkus. And what I have learned so much, especially since our transition and integration from Synovus to Pinnacle, is I would say the theme in this book is team culture is more important than individual talent. And Burkus goes through and he reveals how high performing teams shape the specific habits and practices that unlock their potential. And so, the tide rises based upon, some of the top performers, and it's just a culture that kind of builds upon himself. And I just found the book to be really terrific. Anybody that really thought, that's trying to build a distinct culture, I thought would be really, really helpful.
Yeah. All right. So Brian Tracy and Dr. Burkus, two of the books you would recommend to others.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. That wasn't, I made that unwrapid, but that was a good answer. That was a good conversation. All right, Kevin, going back to the questions, if you could have dinner with any leader, living or dead, who would it be?
Without a doubt, Dr. Martin Luther King.
Wow. Okay. Why?
I just, I look at our world today and everything that's happened, and I say to myself, boy, if you were sitting next to him, how would he view and try to bring collaboration and partnership and peace to the world?
Yeah. A good one for sure. All right. What is, Kevin, a TV show that you are watching now?
So I think it was either my wife or daughter, they've been watching Katrina, and it's called Come Hell or High Water. It's a documentary on Netflix, and it's a 3-part documentary about what happened before, during, and the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. The other one is October 8th, and there were a group of directors and authors on there, but I had the good fortune of meeting this Wendy Sachs at the Jewish Federation here in Sarasota, and she does an amazing job, gut-wrenching, to capture the emergence of anti-Semitism that had taken place in the aftermath of October 7th, and that is something I would highly recommend to everybody.
October 8th is tough watching, but important to watch.
It is very. It's funny. We went and saw the documentary previewed of October 7th, and went with my wife and daughter, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go to something a little lighter for the last question here on this segment. Are you an emoji person when you text, and what is your most used emoji?
I am, but not a lot. I think anybody would say it would be a toss-up between the thumbs up and the smiley face.
Okay. All right. Basic. I like it. Good stuff. Okay, Kevin, you touched on the transition between Synovus or from Synovus to Pinnacle. Tell us about that. Tell our audience who doesn't know what's coming down the line between these two institutions. What's happening there?
It is. I've been in the industry for over 4 decades. I have lived through a number of mergers and acquisitions, and yeah, it sounds cliche where it's a merger made in heaven. But you have two companies roughly about the same size with very, very little overlap, with two distinct um, cultures of people first. And the financial performance on both the firms have been incredible. One of the many, many things I've been so impressed with is on the day that we announced our merger together. Unlike so many others, we announced the name, we announced the colors, we announced the senior leadership, we announced our logo, we announced our board of directors, we announced a decent number of of platforms. This is a growth story. Um, the expense optimization is we've got a component in that that we need to deliver on, but it is minor. The actual geographic footprint is there's very, very little overlap. For us, we're so excited. It takes us into new markets we're not in, and it also delivers for us an incredible lineup of specialties: aviation financing, dealer financing, sports and entertainment, um, legal and specialty. There's dozens of them. The other major difference is the operating model, and we are hyper focused on geography. And so, unlike many of our competition that has their specialist, I'll just give you a couple examples. Payment solutions, treasury management, merchant services. Those people could be anywhere in the country. The client may never see them other than on a screen. We have every single person, trust, investment portfolio, private wealth, trust, merchant serve, everybody right in downtown Sarasota.
Right in the same
So,
market.
so it really is incredible.
Yeah.
The other thing that's pretty neat that I think a lot of people know is the business has been built on a geography model of invitation only. There are no job postings. It is by invitation only, and there needs to be at least two people in the firm that can attest to that person that's being considered to join
Really?
us is not only a great producer, but they're also a great cultural fit. They're a good person.
So when somebody gets to you or gets into the organization for a potential job interview, they've been vetted to your point, right? They've been uh,
Recommend it. Yeah.
recommended.
Yep. Recommend it. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Do you, I mean, it sounds like you're embracing that. Are you worried you're not going to get enough app? That would be my thought. The negative side of it would be like, I'm not going to get enough people. Is that a concern?
No, no,
Yeah.
definitely not. I mean, we're, combined company, 8,500 employees. And, our industry sadly has got a lot of turnover. The other, soundbite I would say is it is the best place to work. So once people come on board, they get indoctrinated into the culture. The employee retention rate is off the Richter scale. I've never ever seen it. And I've run retail, I've run commercial, I've run call center, and in the industry, it kind of runs in the 60 to maybe 70%. And in Pinnacle, sits at about 92, 93%. Just unheard of. It also helps that 100% of our employees are shareholders. So you talk about, and I had the great pleasure in mid December to go visit with every single employee and communicate and make them shareholders. And it was, I'll tell you, it was a pretty emotional and humbling experience, to a teller or, back office person that would have never thought
Yeah.
that they would have been recognized and pulled into being a shareholder.
It just goes to show, it comes up a lot on From the Corner Office podcast, that company culture, how you treat people matters in terms of that thing, being able to tell them, hey, you're now a shareholder of this company, that matters.
And you nailed it. You're absolutely right. The one other piece that I would add to that is it's a people first mentality model, hyper focused on the geography. But to me, the greatest validation to that is what our clients say. And Pinnacle and Synovus have enjoyed the highest net promoter score in the industry in just about every conceivable category. So
Yeah.
that's a validation that the model and the people are really working well for us.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to another topic that's pretty important for leaders, I think, in any industry to be cognizant and aware of. As leader at Synovus, how are you handling or looking at AI and the impact it could have on the bank? What are your sort of top level thoughts on AI as a leader within the organization?
Yeah, you can't go as you know
Yeah.
into any conversation with a client or prospective client, and it's not coming up. And I would say it's all about embracement. It's all about engagement. You talk about continuous learning. Um, just last week, I met with CEOs from two very large trade companies, and it was interesting. One, the team, the employees had completely embraced it. The other, he was having a cultural, challenge. So we were kind of having a roundtable conversation about how can we help, employees get on board. But I read recently, I think it was about 60% of Florida's small businesses have already utilized AI. It's heavily used in digital marketing, predictive analytics, process automation. No surprise in real estate and tourism, it's being used to manage bookings and personalize that guest experience. And then we are blessed to have this 10x AI. Every time I meet the owner, I am like blown out of the water. I mean, there's significant private equity that has been funded to fuel the growth, and he just can't hire enough people. So the I love the term brain train, and this is just so cool to see the transition of our labor force that is infiltrating into the our Sarasota market, to take advantage and enjoy not only a great place to live, but companies like 10X. The city of Sarasota, I was talking to a few of the folks there, and they're utilizing AI in the traffic cameras. Not It was really to try to be predictive of, serious accidents. I'm on the board for the Sarasota Chamber, and I've lost count how many times we run, workshops and education for the business community. Um, my personal opinion, it's gotta be a healthy way how this is viewed. It's less about replacing the workforce and entirely more about, changing the mindset and the daily skill. At Synovus, we've been utilizing it, quite a bit. And I'll just give you a couple examples. First and foremost, it's protecting our clients and what's going on with fraud. We utilize it to streamline operations, presentations, deliver personalized financial experience for the client. Um, and that would be things like Personix, which analyzes transaction data, anticipate customer needs. You may have it from your existing banks, but spending what your spending insights would be, help you with your budget. Automatic savings automations based upon your your spend behaviors. Very automated, tailored financial advice. Fraud and prevention and security has been AI has been a godsend to this, only because it's sadly a $1 trillion nightmare that keeps growing. And then we've got retrieval systems that can quickly access things like policies and streamline support. And then on the payment solution side, it is also used. So we have really our executive team, our CEO, Kevin Blair, he has just been a champion. Zach Bischoff, who is
Yeah.
executive vice president, has just done an amazing job.
Yeah,
Um,
you talk about embracement was the word you used about it. It's an interesting, we're at an interesting, I don't know if it's an inflection point yet, but you have this sort of viral moment a few weeks ago where we're recording here in early June, and there was that University of Central Florida commencement where, as I'm sure you heard, a real estate developer um, spoke about AI and got booed, not booed off the stage, but almost booed off the stage. And she had to come back and sort of embrace anti AI, which is such a, a weird thing based on all the things that you just mentioned, right? You have to be able to embrace it to understand where we can go with this.
yeah, I mean, it's like anything else in life, right? Change. If you view change as a breeder for opportunity, you're gonna grow with it. If you fight it, you're probably gonna be left behind.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Alright, so you mentioned Sarasota and kind of, mentioned 10X, which is an excellent, example of a really rapidly growing, tech company in Sarasota. As we're winding down on this conversation, what are your sort of expectations for the Sarasota-Bradenton market the rest of 2026?
So, we're going to continue to see a boom in population. The MSA projections are to get us somewhere about 1,300,000, which we're just about under 800,000. So that's a lot. We're going to see a continued in migration of both the individuals and businesses, which is going to drive demand for healthcare. It is a challenge when you look at the per capita healthcare credentialed employees to what's happening in this metro MSA area. So, for young people coming into it, it's a great opportunity. We're going to continue to see mixed use commercial development taking place. We're seeing healthy pipelines there. Multi housing is a little bit overbuilt right now. Vacancies are in that mid-teen level, so it's going to take a little while for absorption rates. That will put downward pressure on rents, which is good for the consumer, not the greatest for the investor. The other area which is really boomy is logistics growth. And that would be like surging e-commerce to some of the port-driven freight activity we're seeing in Tampa and Jacksonville and Miami is just incredible. And then you can't not but say the data centers and the power facilities. Last week I met with three in the trade. One, a very large mechanical contracting firm, and two, one was electrical, and the other one was commercial printing. And there is a massive war on talent. In fact, these data center projects are recruiting, into so it's a challenge. You That's a trade where they're aging out. I read a statistic where the average age of a laborer is about 55, and there's a very small percent. I think here in Sarasota, between the Chamber of Commerce and Career Edge and Career Source, they're doing an unbelievable job. You've got a couple of local firms that have actually started up their own schools. Um, but, we are optimistic about it. The contractors are gonna continue to reap the benefits of all the infrastructure that's going on. Challenges for them, fuel, yes, but it's really supply chain to
Yeah,
copper and aluminum, which has seen astronomical increases. I think,
price increases. Sure.
aluminum I read was 34 and copper was like 15%.
Yeah.
Now AI comes back into this. So what I think is really interesting is based on everything I just shared with you, it's come under, margins have come under pressure. So they've leaned into the good ones have really leaned into AI and and it's helped to keep the contractor sentiment up and so they've worked on adopting escalation clauses. These are somewhat new. Structured allowances, more proactive procurement, and stricter change order disciplines. So these things, all the best of the best would
Yeah.
be utilizing. It's just more prevalent. And again, finding a way to be successful in driving that, and at the same time utilizing the evolving technology of AI to deliver the margins there.
Yeah. Last question, Kevin, is as we mentioned earlier, we're in June here, 2026. What is one big thing you're looking forward to the rest of this year, 2026?
Well, Saturday we marry our son, so that's
All
a
right.
big deal.
That's top of mind.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. So that's a big deal in the Gillen family. But what I am looking forward to is I reflect back on the first 6 months of this merger, and I have to say it has been hands down the best I have ever experienced. The employee embracement has been just a movie to be made. It is fun recruiting and telling the story.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait to continue to build out the team. Just in the first five months, we have a half a dozen new revenue producing team members, and we're going to continue that into the
Excellent.
foreseeable future.
Excellent. Kevin Gillen, Regional President, Gulf Coast for Synovus Bank. Thank you so much for coming back on From the Corner Office podcast.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for listening to the Business Observer From the Corner Office podcast. I'm your host, Mark Gordon. This podcast was produced by Reed Corley of the Corley Company in Sarasota. To hear more episodes of From the Corner Office podcast, go to businessobserverfl.com.